Namaskar, good evening. Once again, on behalf of Center for Education Development Foundation and Global Talk Education Foundation, I welcome you all the educators, those who are connected directly in the Zoom link, as well as those who are watching through Facebook. On behalf of my entire team, warm welcome to all of you. Today's discussion, we are on the fifth day, discussing on revisiting issues on schooling post NEP 2020. The Union Cabinet approved and recommended the National Education Policy 2020 on 29th July 2020, paving the way for transformational reforms in the Indian school and higher education sector. We are all in school education. It aims to overhaul India's education system. Friends, COVID-19 pandemic, due to its unprecedented gauge and unique response strategies, had a crucial impact on student education, we all of us know. Insistent lockdowns have posed many challenges for school education globally, and India also in no exception. A detailed introspection and a shift in mindset are needed to include national education policy amidst COVID-19 and new normal post-pandemic period. This everyone understands this. The national education policy is a blend of tools with enabling the students to compete with the global world, as well as to grasp the Bharat-centric values, culture, and languages. Most importantly, the NEP has a clear vision and defined objectives too, which includes the pre-primary education to all by 2025, compulsory school education for all children in the age group from 3 to 18 years by 2030, and the largest of the main target of putting up 50% gross enrollment ratio by 2035, and the circular which is saying 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 structure to be implemented. NEP is an ambitious document which is focused on the holistic and overall development of students to make Atmanirbhar and to enable them to compete with the world by maintaining Bharat-centric values and culture. Friends, when we talk about today's topic, Bharat-centric culture in schooling, to make the students aware of it, to make teachers, educators aware of it, we need to understand how this can happen. To make the students Atmanirbhar and promote entrepreneurship, NEP emphasizes on vocational education. It aims at the hands-on experience of students in vocational crafts, including a lot of metal works, carpentry, electric work, pottery, these all. So NEP 2020 will focus on the safety and security of the school-going girl students too, both inside and outside the campus. Friends, it is indeed absolutely a fantastic day when we take up today's topic on making Bharat-centric schooling. We have with us Professor C.V. Sharma sir, who is the keynote speaker of the day and keynote speaker of the entire session. Sir, with warm regards, I welcome you to the forum, and hopefully, as you have been the mentor to all the days, all the 5 days, it was so wonderful to hear you. Professor C.V. Sharma sir, former chairman of NIOS, and very real educationists in the country has produced. Dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome first of all sir to speak on the theme, sir, where in this particular policy, how Bharat-centric schooling can happen, how and what all been mentioned in this, and what we are planning to do it, what educators or school leaders should do so that we can keep intact the Bharat culture, the Bharatiya culture. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Priyadarshi ji. Thank you, Center for Education Development. Thank you, Global Talk Education Foundation, and all the colleagues on the forum for inviting me once again and giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much. And Also, I can see Dr. Ram Singh. He will remember. मैं इनकी बड़ी इज्जत करता हूँ. उम्र में छोटे हैं, छोटे भाई जैसे हैं, लेकिन बड़ी इज्जत करता हूँ. बहुत ही डायनेमिक प्रिंसिपल हैं. And what I have been telling on various platforms, that during the first phase of planning of the national education policy, I went to Ranchi and he was very kind enough to arrange interaction with students. And what I have been quoting, let me today mention, he had organized that interaction where that daughter of a very prominent doctor of Ranchi had told me कि सर अगर मुझे मौका लगता तो मैं केवल डांस करती. राम सिंह जी, आपको याद होगा वो इंटरैक्शन, उसका प्रभाव अब आप पॉलिसी पर देख सकते हैं. मैं जानबूझ के ये इसलिए आज बता रहा हूं कि ये देखिए कि अगर आप लोग प्लान करें, एक्सर्ट करें, आइडियाज दें तो देश बदलेगा. थैंक यू वेरी मच friend Dr. Ram Singh for giving that opportunity and giving that idea to the nation. And also, I am very happy to see Anshul here, my colleague from the National Institute of Open Schooling, very dynamic academic, very well traveled. See, I can call, see, understand internationalization of education. What can India do along with other nations? I would say I had the privilege of working with Anshul, and she has traveled across the globe during my tenure as chairman in iOS and brought very good ideas which also influenced the policy and the National Institute of Open Schooling, besides other, Vikesh ma'am, whom I have been meeting and again I admire very much, and all others. A very pertinent theme amongst the 5 things that you have chosen, Priyadarshi ji, making Indian education schooling Bharat Kendrit. I will once again mention, जब मुरली मनोहर जोशी जी मंत्री थे और हम लोग ये कहा करते थे उनको कि सर आमूलचूल परिवर्तन होना चाहिए, तो वो खींच के कई बार हम लोगों को कहते थे, क्या करूं मैं, सर नीचे करके पांव ऊपर कर लूं, आमूलचूल परिवर्तन हो जाएगा. बताओ तो आइडिया क्या बदलना है, क्या बदलें. Now we have come up with a policy. What is to change? What must change? And what Dr. Ram Singh will start with understanding what is Bharat centric. When we say Bharat Kendrit Shiksha, what Prime Minister also said, India centric नहीं, ये भारत केंद्रित शिक्षा होगी. तो क्या बात करते हैं? पढ़िए वेद, पढ़िए वेदांग, पढ़िए उपनिषद. What are these texts? Read every text and you will find an idea. Everywhere, I'm leaving aside the other part of Indian Vangamay, जिसको हम कहते हैं literature on science, arts, culture, medicine. I'm leaving that beside the primary literature that is Indian, or what often is referred to as the Hindu literature. Because Hindu was not a religion, mind you, it's a way of life. So it has often been referred by the British scholars as Hindu literature, the Indian, the Bharatiya literature. What was that? That was about creating knowledge. How to create knowledge, preserve knowledge, and transfer knowledge. Read Ved, there is no reference of any god. Read Upanishads. Every Upanishad has an idea for the society to grow, to become a better society, which I have been referring to, and I hope the speakers would be mentioning about that. Who is a good student? Who is a good teacher? What should be the behavior of a teacher? I think we have mentioned that again in the Delhi conference of SEDEX. It was mentioned by Dr. Dinesh Singh, the former Vice Chancellor of Delhi as well, about the Prashnopanishad. And Pippalar and various other gurus in the past who have given us ideas about being an ideal society. And if I can mention, the crux of all this literature is that if you have good teachers in a country, if you are able to, if this nation is able to create good teachers, you are in safe hands. Every Upanishad talks about how to create good human being, good society, good neighbors, good global ideas. And then we give the idea to the world, Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. It's not only for us. not the individual. Look at literatures from all over the country. They only talk about how can you be happy. It's the Indian literature which says, if you want to be happy, make the world happy. Unless and until your neighbor, your immediate neighbor in the vicinity, your neighboring country, and the globe is happy, you cannot be happy. If we have pandemic today, if people are dying in our neighboring country, we cannot be happy. And that is why we care for the neighbors. And that is the crux of Indian education. यही भारतीय शिक्षा पद्धति होनी चाहिए कि जब हम पड़ोसी की मदद करें तो कोई क्वेश्चन न करे, अरे ये क्या कर रहे हो, पहले अपना भला देखो। नहीं, खाने का पहला रोटी गाय के लिए निकालो और अंतिम रोटी कुत्ते के लिए निकालो, ये हमारा साहित्य कहता है, हमको उसको याद करना चाहिए और इसको कहीं ना कहीं हमको अपने शिक्षा पद्धति में लानी चाहिए, एनसीईआरटी के किताबों में लाना चाहिए। मैं एनसीईआरटी की किताबें इसलिए कह रहा हूं कि आजकल हम लोग काम कर रहे हैं इस पर कि आने वाला नेशनल करिकुलम फ्रेमवर्क क्या होगा और आने वाली किताबें कौन होंगी, कौन लोग लिखेंगे, क्या लिखेंगे और क्या होना चाहिए, कैसी होनी चाहिए हमारी किताबें, इस पर हम लोग काम कर रहे हैं। तो इसलिए मेरे दिमाग में हमेशा रहता है कि वो फिजिक्स तो 6ठी क्लास का, ये साइंस जो 6ठी क्लास का होगा उसमें कौन सी बातें आनी चाहिए, जो 12वीं में साइंस लाएंगे वो कौन सी बातें हों। जो जेंडर की बात हम दुनिया भर से लाके करते हैं, जिसको कि हम ऑलवेज बाइनरी अपोजिशन में देखते हैं, वो नहीं होना चाहिए। हमारा तो बाइनरी अपोजिशन था ही नहीं कभी समाज में। तो मुझे लगता है कि यही भारत केंद्रित शिक्षा हो सकती है। लेकिन आई एम अ नोविस, आई मस्ट से, आई एम ओनली मेकिंग ऑफ हैंड रिमार्क्स। राम सिंह जी इज हियर, सो मैं थोड़ा डर भी रहा हूं कि जब वो एक्सपर्ट की तरह बात करेंगे तो शायद इन चीजों को कंट्राडिक्ट भी करे। तो बहुत बहुत आभार पुनः प्रियदर्शी जी कि आपने ये ऑर्गेनाइज किया एंड यू हैव इनवाइटेड सच I say great minds to your platform and forum and given me this opportunity to give the keynote. So thank you very much once again, and I look forward to hearing all the very honorable principals and also Anshul on this platform. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. You are so humble, it cannot be expressed. Anyway, such a person, such an educationist, I think we are proud to have in India. Absolutely, thank you very much with regards, sir.
My privilege.
Dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, we are to discuss here making Bharat-centric schooling. Whether developing Bharatiya school culture, how difficult, how easy will be, whether this values, whatever we talk about, we should think about others before we think about ourselves. This culture need to be incorporated in every minds. When we talk about kids, when we talk about educators, we are dealing everyday children. Are we inculcating all these habits in our children? That is Indian culture. That is Bharatiya Parampara. So on this topic, I think today we'll have a magnificent discussion. We have today to co-chair. I will request the co-chair, Madam Anshul, to highlight about the theme, the sub-theme. We have taken 5 sub-themes so that a clear picture can come up that what exactly the discussion is going to happen. Dear all ladies and gentlemen, we cordially invite Anshul, Madam, the academic officer at the National Institute of Open Schooling, holds the Commerce Chair for ACRC. She has extensively worked with the various international organizations and institutions. She was intern at the Commonwealth of the Learning during January to March 2018, where she primarily worked on the open innovative schooling model. She also had the opportunity to visit BC Open School, South Island Distance Education School, North Vancouver Distributed Learning School, and lot many. She is also the member of NIOS team, which conducted the peer-to-peer institutional quality review of open school in the Bangladesh Open University, and was also involved in facilitating the development of gender policy of OSBO and Open School, National Institute of Education, Sri Lanka. She was also a member of the Indian delegation, which visited Japan and learned about their education systems, primarily elementary and the secondary school, and the national curriculum standards. She attended the 9th Pan Commonwealth Forum held in Edinburgh in 2019. She also visited the Open University, Milton Keynes and Institute of Education London as a part of NIO's delegation to learn about their innovative practices and models. Fantastic. Ma'am, with deep regards, I think we have a tremendous personality today to discuss on very, very heart-touching topic, making Bharat-centric schooling. Madam, over to you for your guidance to all the educators.
Thank you, sir. I think I am audible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much, Priyadarshi Naik, sir, for giving me an opportunity to express my views today amidst the very esteemed school leaders. Congratulations to you, sir, and Team SEDEX for the noble task that you have undertaken, and very diligently you have been doing it. I've been following you for quite some time now. You may not be familiar with me, but yours is a very familiar face to me now. And respected CB Sharma, sir, he's a visionary leader, a very dynamic personality, an innovator, and also my former boss. And I got the opportunity to learn so much from him. Greetings to you, sir, and congratulations for motivating the academia always to speak for themselves. Respected principals, I have been learning so much from you all on this platform. Greetings to you all. Because I started my career as a teacher, worked with best principals, I'm well aware of the challenges you all as school leaders face. Yet, you motivate the teachers so much, you groom them so well, and it's your motivation, not actually the salary, that keeps the teachers performing. Well, the topic for the day is making Bharat-centric education within the overall theme of revisiting issues in schooling post NEP 2020. This means how it is going to be implemented in the coming times. Because the topic is making Bharat-centric, most of the times it's confusing that what does Bharat mean? What did India mean? And now what would Bharat-centric mean? We have been listening to the speakers, and what I recollect is that the only objective of the young, bright minds is that how they can earn degrees which would help them migrate to some other developed country. So the challenge before us is that how we can make our children love this country, stand for the country, and also work for the country. We have had world-class institutions in ancient India, such as the Takshila, Nalanda, Vikramshila, that have set highest standards of multidisciplinary teaching, research, hosted scholars and students from across countries. Then why do our students want to migrate to Harvard, Oxford, and Cambridge? We have created a system that creates a brain dream. Our education system would have groomed students who would have loved to serve the country, but this has not happened. Why? We need to question ourselves. What has happened in our textbooks? So many people have raised voices that the freedom fighters, their heroes, have been depicted as anti-nationals, anti-government in the textbooks. Take the example of Birsa Munda. He fought for the freedom struggle, but our textbooks refer to him as a tribal terrorist from Jharkhand. Why have we been doing all this? Well, we have banked so much on the Western literature that depicted everyone working for the freedom struggle as an anti-national. This is very common, and we have several other examples as well. As per my understanding, the policy wants to place them back as regional icons so that the students, those who are coming from that region, can feel proud that they come from a place that has produced Khudiram Bose, Sitaram Raju, Lakshmi Sehgal, amongst others. Now it's time to tell our children about these leaders who have sacrificed their lives for the country, yet they were being referred to as anti-national. NEP 2020 aims to revamp all the aspects of Bharat's education system that were in place over the 3 decades and bring it closer to the global standards of education. The policy focuses on holistic and overall development of the students to make them Atmanirbhar and enable them to compete with the world while maintaining the Bharat-centric values and culture. Like Pramod Mahajan sir said the other day, that we have to make our students Vishwaguru and not just Atmanirbhar. We say स्वदेशे पूज्यते राजा विद्वान सर्वत्र पूज्यते, अर्थात राजा अपने देश में पूजा जाता है और विद्वान पूरे विश्व में पूजा जाता है. And respected school teachers, only you can do it. Your teachers can do it. Only schools can do it. They have the major responsibility too. I would like to narrate a small incident here. When I first started teaching, parent of one of my students said, "Ma'am, can you please convince my son to take science stream? He has done very well in maths and science. Still, he wants to go for commerce. He's not listening to us." I was a new young teacher back then, 10, 15 years back. I thought, if your child doesn't listen to you, why would he listen to me? She said he would. And to my surprise, the child was ready to do what I say. And from there, I got to know how powerful we as teachers are. And we have experienced as parents too. When we also tell our children, or if teacher has made a mistake or marked a wrong question right, it's almost impossible to convince the child. They are like, "Meri ma'am ne to aise hi karaya hai, yehi sahi hai." So probably what the teachers can do, nobody else can. Going back to the topic, we have had a great tradition of science and technology, of culture, of gender equality, which is missing in our textbooks. We follow the Western model that women are deprived, women are not on important positions. This is not the Bharatiya way of gender equality. It's not men versus women. It's about complementing each other. We gave both genders equal rights, even the transgender. We have example of Ardhanarishwar, which depicts that life originated from union of men and women, and male and female are completely equal. Gender, as per the Vedic literature, is divided into three categories according to Prakriti, the Pus Prakriti, Tri Prakriti, and Tritiya Prakriti, that is the third gender, as quoted in the Upanishads. Charak has also mentioned in his writings, in his medical texts, about the Tritiya Prakriti or the third gender. We also have example of Sri Ram. When Lord Ram had to perform prayers on his return to Ayodhya, he was not allowed. He was considered ineligible to perform the prayers, as Sita was not with him. So a gold idol of Sri Ram had to be made so that they can perform the yajna. So in Hindu tradition, a male or a female cannot perform yajna alone. This was the level of understanding and the place of wife, or we can say women, in the Hindu society. The ancient text also tells that the women were educated during the Vedic period. Rig Ved tells us that women were married at a mature age and were probably free to select their husbands, Swamvar, or live-in relationship called the Gandharva Vivaha. The Rig Ved and Upanishad mention several women sages such as Gayatri and Maitri. Also, if we talk of Purans, every god was with their wife, such as Brahma with Saraswati, Shiva with Parvati. Idols of god and goddesses depicted equal importance to both genders. There are specific practices that endure till date. We do Diwali Puja at home and place the idol of Lakshmi before we place Ganesha. Even when we take the names of God, we say Sita Ram and Radha Krishna. This was the position of women, the respect that the society gave to women. Even during Havans or Yajna, every mantra or shlok is addressed to Swaha, the wife of Agni, instead of Agni himself. Devi Bhagavad Puran says that all requests to Agni had to be made through his wife, Swaha. Thus, it's evident that women have had equal status, they have had liberty, they have enjoyed their rights, and they were respected. जो पॉलिसी आई है वो ये बताना चाहती है कि हम क्या थे, हमारा स्थान क्या था और हमारा टीचर कैसा था, क्या स्थान था शिक्षक का हमारे देश में. पॉलिसी फोकसेस टू ब्रिंग द टीचर सेंटर स्टेज. पूरी पॉलिसी को अगर हम शुरू से अंत तक देखते हैं तो कहता है कि टीचर कहीं ना कहीं टीचर पे बल देता है, टीचर पे फोकस करता है. पर टीचर को अब सेंटर स्टेज लाना है, इस पे बात हो रही है, पर टीचर को साइडलाइन किसने किया? If we talk during the British times, They intentionally destroyed our education system so as to produce efficient English-speaking clerks who can take orders and just execute. पर भारत वो देश है जहां पर बच्चे को सिखाया जाता है कि भगवान से पहले गुरु का आदर करो। गुरु गोविंद दो खड़े काके लागू पाए, बलिहारी गुरु आपने गोविंद दियो बताए। Now coming next to the vocational education. Respected principals, NEP 2020 talks about the 12th five-year plan, and it says that only a very small percentage of Indian workforce, less than 5%, has received formal vocational education, whereas in USA it was about 52%, Germany about 75%, and South Korea about 96%. So these numbers tell us that we are lagging far behind, and there is a need to speed up vocational education in India. But in India, vocational education is perceived to be inferior to the mainstream education, meant largely for those students who are unable to cope up with the mainstream education. This is a perception that affects the choices our students make. It's a serious concern for all of us, and it can only be dealt by complete reimagination of how vocational education is offered in the future. But why? What happened? What did we do in all these years? Vocational was the base of our education system. Not every child wants to excel in studies and be an engineer or a doctor or a researcher. Some just want to be with their families in the villages and they're satisfied. Why couldn't we create respect for all professions? Respected principals, let's remind ourselves of some facts and figures. India's share in world's economy when British arrived was 23%, which was reduced to about 4% when they left. During 1600 BC, India's per person GDP was much more than that of America, Britain, China, and Japan. We are well aware of how British eroded us of our resources. The handloom weavers of India, well known for its fine quality muslin. The British tortured them, destroyed their looms, imposed heavy taxes, started taking raw material from India, and shipped back finished materials to India. They turned weavers in India into beggars, and from world's largest exporter of muslin, India became an importer, and its share came down from 27% of world trade to about 2%. Dear school leaders, we need to bring back vocational education into our education system. Every family must produce enough to sustain and not wait for the government subsidy every time. Let's make our villages autonomous so that people don't have to migrate to the towns in search of jobs. This policy aims to overcome social status hierarchy with vocational education and requires integration of vocational education programs into the mainstream education in all educational institutions in a phased manner. Now, let me share with you that NIOS is one such board that offers integration of academic and vocational subjects much before the policy comes into practice at all levels. There is no compartmentalization between the streams too. Not necessarily a PCM or a accountancy, business studies, economics groups are to be chosen. Students can opt for physics with accountancy and or painting or agriculture if that helps them. We have also been offering the Bharatiya Gyan Parampara courses at elementary, secondary, senior secondary levels, having subjects such as Vedadhyan, Sanskrit Vyakaran, Bharatiya Darshan, and Sanskrit Sahitya. We have been offering the on-demand examination system where the students can go to the website, choose the date and the subject and the place of the exam where they want to give. And when the students feel exam ready, they can go and give the exam. As easily as we can book movie tickets for Paytm, we can choose the slot, the date, and also the seats. This is how easily the system works. NIOS is a very progressive board, and I take pride in saying that I come from NIOS. So many processes of NIOS have been borrowed by the National Education Policy 2020, and we look forward to all these becoming national norms. If we talk of aeronautics, India got aeronautics much before, but sadly, our textbooks mention Wright brothers and not Maharishi Bharadwaj, who first invented it, and it was tried at Chowpatty in Mumbai. We have given so much importance to the West in our textbooks that our children are very easily carried away by their culture, their practices. We have not taught our children about our own country, which the policy envisions now. Respected principals, now it's the time to bring that change. Without speaking much, I would like to conclude here as I'm very much excited to listen to the school leaders and learn more from you all. Thank you so much, respected principals and all others, for a patient hearing. And thanks to Priyadarshi sir for the opportunity and CB Sharma sir for the motivation. Thank you, all of you.
I think we are absolutely privileged to have you. Such an outstanding view. I think I must especially thank you on behalf of my entire team that you have a very absolutely a modernistic view on school education, and your thoughts and experiences certainly is going to inspire or motivate each one of us. Sincerely, we can say we are entering to such an era where the new education policy has come up. But when we talk about the Bharatiya Sanskriti values and all, really rightly you said that in many of the places we used to teach our children about the West, not about our own country. I think this is the right time where national education policy focuses on Bharatiya culture, Bharatiya tradition, Bharatiya values. And I believe the content which you have spoken just now, the highlighted you in such a way, your speech is very much stimulating. I believe especially it is going to help each one of us, those who are listening today. Thank you very much, ma'am. And I will certainly request you that after each and every speaker wants to deliver, so your final comment or your final input into that particular subtopic will help the entire audience, and it will help us to prepare the visit document properly. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your outstanding guidance, and I believe that your input is going to might have boosted all other speakers to have their own presentation. So let me take the permission from the keynote speaker, CB Sharma sir, to start up the session. Friends, today's first TEDx speaker, very eminent personality, very eminent educationist, Dr. Ram Singh, Principal, Delhi Public School, Ranchi, Jharkhand. He will be speaking on understanding Bharat-centric schooling. We need to understand, even though Madam has very clearly explained about Bharat-centric schooling, but when we talk about a fundamental concept, how to make Bharat-centric schooling, or what need, how every educators need to understand the Bharat-centric schooling. Over to Dr. Ram Singh for your presentation. Your time starts now. You have 10 minutes time. Thank you very much. Can you unmute yourself, sir? May I request my team to unmute? Yes. Yes. Over to you, sir.
I think the host team is not allowing me to share the screen. If can you please request?
Just a minute. Just a minute. I was just waiting. Yes, it is done.
Good evening to every member. I hope in this pandemic time everyone is good. I pray for everyone's well-being and good health, and everyone is fit. Speaking in front of Professor C.V. Sharma, it is really a difficult job, and I got this opportunity in past many times, and I have learned a lot by his talk, by his speaking. And for some time, I was the member in NIOS, so I used to visit in his office. I used to learn there. And so, C.V. Sharma sir, thank you very much for everything, what you did for me, for my school, for DPS Ranchi, and your contribution for DPS Ranchi is really appreciable. And it was really nice to listen Anshul Kharbanda ma'am, and she spoke everything about Bharat-centric new education policy, and she touched almost all the segments, all the parts, why the new education policy was required. All of us are aware that we are in a country which is very diverse country. After every few kilometers, the language, the food, the culture, everything that is changing. And in such a diverse country, having one policy, one education system, and to implement it properly at the ground level is a very difficult task. And we have seen in CC when it was introduced and it was brought at the ground level, and I will not say failed, but the way it was supposed to be implemented at the ground level, that we could not see. And for this, I congratulate Dr. Priyadarshi Nayak. And I'm seeing that how much efforts he's putting out by his team, and training the teachers, providing the platforms where people can come, they can put their views, they can have the debate, they can discuss, and to come out. So Dr. Priyadarshi Nayak, you are doing wonderful job for the education system, for its new education policy, to updating, training the teachers. And this is what the new education policy speak, that it should be the teacher centric. Like teachers should be given the importance, and teachers should be there at the center, and to bringing the teachers at the center, you are conducting or you are arranging this kind of the talk. So I'm thanking to every my other members, those who are attending this program. I think all of us are going to be benefited after hearing good speakers. Bharat-centric education, to know that, first we should know that what is the meaning of Bharat. This presentation is given, please you can go through that, and because I have given 10 minutes time, so I will be little short. The meaning of meaning of Bharat, that one who continuously is engaged in seeking or in getting the knowledge. Why Bharat-centric? Because already we have the very strong heritage, highly developed civilization. We were the Vishwa Guru in past, and we were having the world-class universities. We had the world-class teachers, and where we stand today. If you compare the past with the present, itself you can understand that our past was so glorious, so good, for which we had the pride, but where we stand today, that itself, if we do the comparison, then we can know that why our own education system, why it is need to reconnect to our roots or to our system. We had in Nalanda the world-class library. Do we have any world-class library at present? So for that, we have to check, we have to see that why those things, those pride we had in the past, in the ancient days, why we are not having today, because of the colonization system and change in the modern education. And we have lost so many things. Why we are not finding our human touch in education system today? Why each class is not entertained or getting the equality in education? That is also the matter of concern. So these are the some areas where we need to revamp, and thank to the government that they have come out with the new education policy, and where the teacher is at the center, and these one local and global needs of the country are considered with respect to it. So these are the points which are given. Quality education system, if we recall, in September 2015, United Nations had come out with the 17 targets, 17 goals. And out of that, fourth one was their quality education till 2030. And India has adopted or agreed to bring the country at the international level, that in the good to provide the quality education to every citizen or to every child. This basis of NEP, that is education must develop the cognitive capacities, that we know that what are the cognitive capacities, the reasoning, the decision making, information processing capacity, learning, and adaptability to change particular. These are the targets or the goals which we have it and we want to create the environment to create, evaluate, analyze, apply, understand, remember. And because these things were there in our ancient education system. So all the quotients along with the intelligent quotient, the social quotient, the emotional quotients, that to also be taken care in the new education policy. And if we are doing this, then we are connecting with our roots. This is the what I was talking about, the sustainable development goal by United Nations. We can see fourth one is the quality education. Already country had is agreed to attain it. And for us, the quality education means where holistic is there, where human touch is there, where the respect and responsibility is there, and where the good infrastructure is there, because we had the world-class universities and professors and teachers, and to bring that, to get that. So if we go through the new education policy, then we find that it is centric to achieve the same goal. So that's why I can say this should be there at the this is the as the Bharat-centric education. What I can add, because in this era, you know that by the rise of the big data, machine learning, and artificial intelligence, the skills, low degree skills workers are not required, and for that we have to change the education. So we need skilled workforce. That's why skills vocational courses are added, flexibility is given, so that at any time anyone can drop out, can leave the college and can join it. So this is required for the or this shows that it is the Bharat-centric new education policy, where self-realization and where we talk about knowledge, wisdom, and truth. So these are the things what I think these USPs of the new education policy make us as the Bharat-centric education policy. So be these words, since already Anshul ma'am spoke very nicely and told each and everything. So these are from my point, and I thank to everyone for listening, patience listening. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ram Singh. I think I'll take up a quick view from our co-chair. Madam, over to you.
Very effective presentation, sir. Nicely presented. And you told us about the goal 4 of the quality education, and also emphasized on vocational education and its importance for us. So I think it is a very useful point, and we all will be working towards it. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ram Singh. I think your vision towards or understanding towards making Bharat-centric schooling is absolutely very clear. And of course, we have many points to be discussed in that, but due to constraint of time, we are curtailing it. But thanks once again for your kind presence. Kindly be there. We will be inviting now our second SEDEX speaker. We'll be speaking on promoting vocational education. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Vikesh Kaur, Principal, Doon International School, Jammu. Ma'am, good evening, namaskar and welcome. Over to you for your presentation.
Thank you, sir. My blissful greetings to one and all present here, especially my co-speakers. It's colossal honor and immense privilege to be amongst the phenomenal and elite scholars and academicians of the nation. I'm generously grateful to Dr. Naik sir for providing this prodigious opportunity to me for decoding NEP 2020 and also rationalizing and optimizing its implementation program. My heartfelt gratitude and greetings to Professor C.B. Sharma sir for being here and mentoring us all with his pearls of wisdom always. My sincere thanks to Madam Anshul Kharbanda for making us all aware of the education policy in a true and real manner. It was really so informative, ma'am. Sir, I'll request, I just want to share my screen.
Absolutely. Yes.
So the topic today given to me is promoting vocational education. And I have divided my presentation into 3 parts: what, why, and how. What is vocational education? So let's move on to the first part of the presentation, that is what actually is vocational education. In a layman's language, it's a form of instruction or training designed to prepare skilled students. Or in other words, I would say it's a kind of learning which in turn offers better employment opportunities to the learners. In context with NEP 2020, the very first line of the policy saying education is fundamental for achieving full human potential, developing an equitable and just society, and promoting national development itself complements that education has the power to bring out the best of each child, not only in theoretical advancement, but also the practical and vocational skills of the children to be taken care of. And how to take care of? Through action-based learning opportunities. When we talk about action-based learning opportunities, the vocational side of education comes into picture. Fortunately or unfortunately, the Indian cultural scenario is such that expects the educational progression to move in such a way that ultimately supports, or I'll say creates, vocational opportunities for the children after they pass out from a school or a college. So the ultimate aim of education for a child of 21st century is definitely to get vocationally trained or skillfully equipped to be consequently successful in later life. Or in other words, I would say that along with teaching the life skills to a child, we must make him competent and skillful by equipping him with livelihood skills, which will not only be beneficial for that particular individual, but also maybe for his family, for a society, and ultimately for the economic growth of a nation. And definitely a step forward for being the Vishwaguru also. I must mention it here that due to the lack of the provision of such vocational education, especially at school level, we are surrounded with a number of unskilled educated pass outs. And thus, such pass outs, they are unable to get employed because of the lack of skills, and thus creating an educated unemployment scenario. Let's move on to the second part of the presentation, that why do we need vocational education? We need to address the fact that there has been rapid changes globally, not only in education landscape, but also in professional or vocational scenario as well. For example, the vocations, the professions, the employments which were relevant few years back have lost their value, their importance, their relevance, and some of them have lost even their existence. So you all will agree with me that technology has overpowered almost all the employment scenarios with the introduction of machine learning, artificial intelligence, data analysis or data science, etc. Indeed, with the quickly changing employment landscape, it's becoming increasingly critical for all of us that children must integrate theory with the practical and also integrate vocational education with the mainstream education. Apparently, there has been a tremendous change in the phase of education as well, from content-based to more towards experiential, more towards integrated, more towards inquiry-driven, discovery-oriented, discussion-based, and ultimately an enjoyable education. And I don't feel sorry about saying this, that it could be enjoyable only if the students are given proper opportunities to participate in the education in technical activities of their own interest and choice. Ma'am has already discussed about the unbelievable statistics showing that less than 5% of Indian workforce in the age group of 19 to 24 received vocational education till today. Whereas in countries like USA, the number is high, like 52%, Germany 75%, and astonishing number in South Korea, which is as high as 96%. So basically, we can say that such scary numbers have led the urgent need of the integration of vocational education in the mainstream in India at school level, especially. One of the primary reason of this small number of students receiving vocational education has been the restrictive focus largely on 11th and 12th grade. We all have been giving importance to these two classes, or maybe the dropouts. And these 11th and 12th class passouts did not have well-defined pathways to continue with their own chosen vocations. And the reason was the general admission criteria for higher education was not compatibly designed to provide genuine opportunities to such students with vocational educational qualification. And so they were left out at disadvantage as compared to the mainstream students. So there has been a stereotyping with vocational education because it has always been perceived to be inferior to mainstream education and meant largely for the children who actually could not cope up with the mainstream education. But if such kind of vocational education is going to be implemented from school level onwards, it is going to be a support system for early dropouts. The early dropouts who are unable to afford higher education, which is actually which seems to be luxury to many. So it would really be benefited with the introduction of vocational education at school level, equipping such dropouts with required skills and competence. Let's move on to the next part of the presentation, that how we are going to implement this kind of vocational education in the schools. The first and foremost step has to be the integration of vocational education into mainstream education. How? Definitely, this has to be an inseparable part of the curriculum of the school to make vocational education more meaningful and acceptable. It means the development of vocational capacities will go hand in hand with the development of academic or other capacities. So vocational exposure at an early age, especially in the middle and secondary school, is such a welcome step. And many of us must be thinking, is it possible? Definitely. Because at this particular age, the children are full of curiosity. They are full of inquiry. They are full of discovery. And they need something more than just academics. So introducing coding at this stage is one of the futuristic and fantastic steps which we all should welcome. 10 bagless days, a wonderful, wonderful initiative. Here the school need to be taking innovative initiatives for making these 10 days the best amongst the all. When we talk about the higher level, we need to be more practical while choosing the vocations to be taught at this level, which must be of higher quality. Now, what is higher quality? In other words, I would say the vocations which are in demand at present, as well as they can be relevant in the coming future, especially in context with our own nation, as well as taking care of the global demand also. But we need to make sure that each child learns and masters at least one vocation of his or her own choice and is exposed to many. And why we are saying exposed to many? To give importance to the Indian value system, especially the dignity of labor, respect and importance to the various vocations, and to make it more Bharat-centric, we need to give importance to the Indian arts and artisans also. Since the student attaining vocational education and training had always been seen as inferior to the children receiving mainstream education, we need to change the scenario by considering and recognizing their talent while providing employment opportunities under gross enrollment ratio targets. So this has to be a step from the government side. One of the best part of this initiative is going to be collaborations. Now, the first collaboration that schools need to do is with polytechnics, with local industries, with ITIs, or with other vocational centers. I think this needs to be very well planned by the schools, spreading the training period for all the 7 years from class 6 to class 12 in a way that utilizing the workforce of and the equipments of those vocational centers and the local industries. Another very important collaboration that a school needs to do is having the collaboration with each other for developing skill labs. I believe that it's not possible for a single school to arrange or provide various vocational openings to its students, prioritizing their distinct individual interests. So it would really be an interesting exchange of vocational programs amongst a hub of schools, where maybe my school offers pottery making, the other school offers carpentry, another farming and agriculture, and so on. And we all are sending our students to each other for exchange programmed learning under expert resource persons with technical and vocational training in respective skill labs. Few more steps like easy access to Lok Vidya, which is the indigenous vocational education to be made accessible to all the students. Then vocational education through ODL, that is open and distance learning. Then constitution of NCIV, that is the National Committee for Integration of Vocational Education, which will be consisting of vocational experts, representatives from ministries and industries as well, and also the detailment of NSQF for further checks. But I believe that at the ground level, the schools need to be more innovative, well prepared before integrating the vocational education with the mainstream education. I'll conclude my presentation by presenting few important steps to be ensured by a school. The first and foremost important point that school need to take care of is to have student and parent awareness programs. We need to make them aware of the main objective of integrating vocational education with the mainstream education. Next one is the infrastructural enhancement and changes, for example, making or building of skill labs. Then relevant equipments required for particular vocational courses. Then expert resource persons to be arranged in the school. And the most important, the collaboration with local industries, with ITIs, with polytechnics, with local artisans, and most importantly, with the hub of neighboring schools. Another important part that school has to play is reframing of the timetable and redrafting of its curriculum. Then the school has to see that the allotment of the vocational courses has to be need and interest based. There has to be a competent admin authority to keep a check and provision of frequent feedback. The most important part here is the assessment of the academic and vocational education in an integrated way, so that we can keep both of them at the same priority level. Last but not the least, there has to be some career counseling sessions to be organized as awareness programs for students, especially for the fields which they have opted for, so that they are aware of the career openings after they choose any profession or vocation. So let's not only assume, but make it possible a scenario where children are training or relevant education for vocation is being provided at school level, then the child continues the same at college level, gaining expertise, and then there are enough opportunities to get employed or even create employment as young entrepreneurs. Thus, promotion of vocational education is a positive step and must be welcomed and implemented even at school level in a phased manner. I'll conclude and rest my presentation with a quote that formal education will definitely make you knowledgeable, but vocational education will make you self-reliant. And when we talk about Atmanirbhar Bharat and its self-reliant population, vocational education is going to play a wonder role. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Wonderful, Vikesh ma'am, very rightly said about the need and requirement of vocational education in these days. Specifically, you highlighted that yes, India is still lacking, I can understand, opting vocational education in schools. When you compare with North Korea and other countries, their children are having around 90+% of vocational education children opting it. So I think National Education Policy has made it now a mandatory aspect to have this vocational education, but we school educators now have to practically implement it in our respective schools. I'll take up a quick feedback from our co-chair, Madam Anshul. Please, over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Vikesh ma'am, it was a very clear presentation. Very nicely you summarized the what, why, and how of the vocational education, and it was really very nice and clear. So, like you talked about making vocational education enjoyable. So, how like we can do more about it? What opportunities can children be given? Like in some of the schools, I like one school I know that they have been offering vocational education at primary level, and every 3 months they change the activity. Like it is a different skill every 3 months. So by the time the student moves out of primary, the student can identify which skill he's good at and what he can pursue in future and in further studies. So something of this sort if we can do. And also, like you talked about collaborations are very important, because unless and until we collaborate with the industries, our students will not be able to get first-hand experience or hands-on experience of doing the activities or the skill. So that's very important. And also, like other countries also have been doing this, that they have been giving hands-on experience to their students, and the ones with greater percentage of giving formal education to the vocational education. So thank you so much, ma'am. This is what I had to add. Thank you for your presentation.
I think it was wonderful. I want to add here that vocational education in the earlier days, when we talk about the CC was there, we have all added work education in the aspect of that. What is work education? Work education signifies something the other we should teach in our school to our children. As such, from that area only they can make their future on that. Suppose we take up suppose we take up any electrical work, suppose you take up any mechanical work, suppose something the other we will be training in our schools, so that once they move up, they grow up, they can make that particular aspect, but that particular topic as a a livelihood. They can earn livelihood from there, even if there are a lot of scarcity in getting jobs and over everywhere. So these things, if it is taught, even if you teach gardening to them, then I think they can be, they can develop a very big nursery afterwards, if they will be fond of understanding all these plants and flowers. So friends, vocational education, as ma'am said, it can be introduced from pre-primary or primary classes also, wherever there is an interest, because this is something about skills. So wherever there is interest, so I think it can be adopted. Every school should have this vocational education adopted practically. It should not be only putting up a grades afterwards when you do SUPW. SUPW is generally we used to do it to put up some grades only, but afterwards it has no use. But really, in a practical way, this has to be done. Wonderful. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your outstanding efforts. I must congratulate Vikesh Kaur, ma'am, for her outstanding presentation. Thank you. Let us move towards the next speaker, Madam Meena Kumari, Academic Director from Bangalore. She is Indian Public School nearby Kolar, Bangalore, and she will be speaking on promoting girls' education. NEP 2020 focuses on safety and security of school-going children, school-going girl children. It may be outside or inside of the campus. Schools have to ensure there should not be any harassment, discrimination, dominant-free campus. As such, there will be increase of attendance of girls, mainly specifically girl children should attend school. So let us hear straight away from Meena ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
Namaskar, sir. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. A very good evening to everybody. My humble pranams to Sharma sir, Anshul ma'am, and all the dignitaries and my learned friends on this wonderful platform. In fact, it's my honor to be sharing this virtual platform with a visionary like CB Sharma ji. Many, many thanks for this opportunity. Towards making Bharat-centric schooling, we have heard a lot of inputs from the two speakers earlier. Let me focus now on promoting girls' education in my present talk. I would like to begin with a few statistics, just some facts which are shocking yet true. It is said that according to a recent survey, probably 2015-16, okay, the survey was conducted, and worldwide 132 million girls are out of school. 132 million girls are out of school. I mean, that's a real shocking and alarming information. It is also estimated that by the year 2030, one in every 5 girls in crisis-affected countries will not be able to read a simple sentence. This is a very horrifying state of affairs that we are into. If we do not look into the seriousness of the situation, I think we will have to go ahead and face a much more horrifying future. I was listening to the wonderful inputs by our co-chair, Ms. Anshul ma'am, beautifully, the way she was, connecting to the earlier period, the Vedic period, and, thereafter. In fact, my heart was rejoicing the way she was explaining so beautifully. We all know that from times immemorial, India has been the land of iconic women who played a unique role in governance, policy making, defense, religion, teaching, even in, as aviation, as aviators. I think in every field, women has been outstanding. During the early Vedic period, I am talking about almost, before 500 BC. That was the period, the early Vedic period. Women and girls enjoyed equal status in society. When I say equal status, we have a particular status for boys, the Vedic initiation, which is called as a Upanayan. Okay, that is the, the first Vedic initiation that is done for a boy. Parallelly, there was something like that for girls. I mean, it's unbelievable, but it is a fact. I think we can just understand what was the status girls enjoyed. The girls and women, they were on par with the men and the boys. They enjoyed equal status in the society. Many of the women were also priests. They did every single work that the men folk did. Okay, so we have had documents and various examples of the outstanding women achievers, the Vishwavara, the Lopamudra, I mean, these ladies, the Lopamudra, Leelavati, I think we are all aware of this name, Bhaskaracharya's Leelavati, who has been a great mathematician who used to solve very difficult mathematical puzzles in those times. Maitreyi, Gargi, I mean, all these women educators, they were poetesses and teachers of the earlier Vedic period. So thereafter, we have seen, present times, we have seen great achievers in every field. I don't want to list all the names, just a few, maybe Kalpana Chawla, Shakuntala Devi, or, P.T. Usha, M.S. Subbalakshmi, Indra Nooyi, Nirmala Sitaraman. I think the list is endless. Okay, so what is it that we can understand from this? One is the earlier Vedic period, women enjoyed a lot of priority, and now if you see, gradually there's a decline, and the women were kind of, they did not enjoy equal powers in the probably the 10th or 12th century. During that period, the status was a little lesser. Okay, I wanted to just find out what could be the reason. Probably the 800 years of colonization by the foreign invaders. I'm not talking about only the Britishers. I'm not restricting to British era. This includes the sultans and the Mughal rulers also. They have literally deteriorated the core moral, cultural, and educational values of our Bharat. Okay, it is very, very sad to say this. And everything was almost against women. Women were not allowed to study. The early child marriage, which did not exist in the early Vedic period. I'm telling this again and again. Child marriage did not exist in the early Vedic period, but later on it was forced. Child marriage means what? girls were denied basic education. Okay, so this was how it went on. And now moving on, the post-independence period, um, you know, unfortunately, the communist-grown education structure hardly focused on female literacy. And promoting education was not at all given a priority. I mean, it should have been so effective that it doesn't have any loose ends. We should have promoted education so fiercely and forcefully. Anyway, that apart, now what is it that we can do? Promoting girl education is the need of the hour. We must make India an education hub. The whole world is watching. It's literally watching at what India is capable of, what India can do in future. So I think we must focus. At this point of time, I just want to quote my mentor, Dr. Gururaj Karjagi. He says, I quote, in the 21st century, Bharat should become the meeting place for the brain of Einstein and the heart of Buddha. Okay, what a beautiful statement. I think I just enjoy repeating it again. In the 21st century, Bharat should become the meeting place for the brain of Einstein and the heart of Buddha. I mean, this is what we have to vision. ये जो बोलते हैं हम लोग विश्वगुरु, भारत बढ़ के आगे बढ़ के विश्वगुरु बनना है. I think this is the concept that we have to work on. Okay, thanks to policymakers today that we have such a beautiful National Education Policy 2020, which promises to bring about holistic, then inclusive and participatory approaches to education. I mean, there are many things, manifold, and so beautifully blended in this policy. I'm so proud to talk about this today. Well, when I say inclusive approaches, I mean the special provisions for promoting girl-child education. And of course, the policy also mentions about the transgender learners and those with special education needs. I'm not talking about all those. I would like to restrict my talk to the girl gender today. Okay, right. So somewhere I was just reading, just on a lighter vein. Okay, please don't take it very seriously. On a lighter vein, if somebody was, they mentioned that in the 65 pages document, the National Education Policy document, the 65-page document, the word gender appears only 16 times precisely. Now, we are not going with the literal search of the word. Okay, we are going to look at the implications that matter. What are the implications? What the National Education Policy has to give us? What we can extract and what is the way forward? This is what my focus would be. Well, one single tangible commitment from the government in actualizing the priority for girls' education is stated in the setting up of what is called as Gender Inclusion Fund. This is presumably to assist in providing quality and equitable education for all girls, that we are aware of it, the pillars of the so-called NEP, the equitable and quality education and all that. Now, how does this happen? This has to happen in partnership with the states and the local community organizations. Now, if you look at this, it's a huge goal. It's a very broad-based goal. You cannot just directly approach and achieve that goal in one go. So broken down into smaller segments, I think we can visualize this in terms of ensuring 100% enrollment for girls in schooling by the year 2020 and at least 50% enrollment in the higher education by the year 2035. So easily, practically speaking, I think this is achievable, attainable. Okay, that is one thing. Now, the NEP 2020 also focuses on the safety and security of school-going girls, not only in the campus, but also outside the campus. Because safety and security of girl child, every girl child is very important. We have seen and heard of the horrifying stories of sexual assault to the girl child and all that. I am not going to go into the details of this. Now, schools have a very big task on hand. They must ensure a campus free of harassment, discrimination, and dominating or bullying others before they go for the yearly accreditation. Okay, this is one important thing the policy focuses on. I really love this. Now, the policy also hopes to increase the attendance of girl children. Attendance is a big concern because there are many dropouts. Dropouts could be due to various reasons. So here what we can do is identify what are the social norms and the gender stereotypes which are preventing girls from accessing education, and thereby what are those factors which cause regular dropouts. So when you attend to these issues, timely intervention, I think we can take care of all these aspects, reduce the dropouts, and we can bring more girl children to the school. I'm talking about the rural sector. Okay, that is one part. The policy also states that teachers and Anganwadi workers and local social entrepreneurs, they will be trained. The training, to what extent it is effective and how it has to go, I think we had a couple of days back, we had all these detailed discussions on the same platform about the Anganwadi teachers, the workers, and ashram shalas and all that. We had wonderful inputs from the various speakers. Well, let us hope that they are trained well in order to deliver the right inputs and also counsel the girl child's families. The counseling is very important, right? So under this policy, educational institutions will also be mandated to conduct what is called as awareness sessions on gender issues. This is basically to break the stereotyped gender roles. Okay, boys and girls equal. The sports activities, whatever it is, I think it should be equal. Many of us are following, but my request is for those schools which are still not looking into these aspects. Now, importance is also given to create a harassment-free environments, which I've already mentioned, and particularly a special mention about the POCSO Act, the prevention of children from sexual offenses. This is a beautiful, milestone in the history of Indian education system, I must say. Okay, so all these trainings and all the inputs, the preparation, the orientation, everything is done. So these trainings must aim and make teachers and educational administrators aware of the gender sensitivity and inclusive classroom management. So when I talk about gender sensitization, particularly in the educational curricula, it must also include sex education for students at the right time. Okay, but then somewhere the policy does not mention this critical issue. We talk about sex education to be made as a compulsory component of the school curriculum, but even at the lower level, elementary level, something like what is good touch, bad touch, I think these can be very clearly understood by our young kids. So this is what we can do, along with talking to them about the hygiene practices, the menstrual hygiene practices, the anatomical well-being, and all that. Well, when I talk about promoting girls' education, I think there are certain aspects of the policy which just ऐसे खींच के लाएंगे. So what are those aspects? The quick pointers. One is the strengthening of Anganwadi centers, which I just mentioned a minute back. The policy proposes to make sure that these Anganwadi centers have proper ventilated buildings and the workers, the staff will be trained well. Then the second is universal access to education, where the policy envisages access to education for all. Okay, that's the important thing here, to ensure that dropout rates come down and proper counseling will be provided. Third, very interesting, is the multilingualism of the policy. Why this multilingualism? We all know that the girl child at that age, the pre-primary and the primary level, is not so confident and not so communicative as far as other languages are concerned. She is very comfortable with her mother tongue or the local language. So multilingualism ensures that the teacher communicates at least till grade 5 in the local language or the mother tongue. I think that is one plus point to bring more girl children, promote girl education. Then the fourth one is about vocational education, where just now Vikesh ma'am has beautifully explained how we can bring about these vocational skills among children, enlighten them, and make them aware of these aspects. And another important, beautiful thing that I want to mention is the multiple entry and exit points. I know I'm touching upon the higher education, but still it is relevant because it is promoting girls' education. A girl, the girl can decide when to exit, when to enter, and this gives a kind of flexibility, so the dropout will be again lesser. Well, looking into all these things, let us also discuss why we need to invest in girls' education. We all know that education is one of the milestones for women empowerment. Okay, every woman is empowered because she is educated. So when we invest in girls' education, educating a girl means empowering the whole nation. It's not just educating her alone or her family. It is empowering the whole nation. And the girls who are educated respond to challenges better with a broad-minded outlook. And they can equip themselves with the necessary skills. Of course, their lifetime earnings will increase and all that. The national growth rates rise, which is definitely going to spell the national development on the global scenario. Now, we talk about the rural background. Yes, child marriages rates decline and child mortality, maternal mortality, all these things will be decreasing because the girl is educated. And when we bring about the gender equitable education systems, they help to keep both boys and girls in school throughout. No dropouts whatsoever. You know, at the primary level or at the secondary or high secondary level, I think the dropouts will definitely, it will drastically come down. So that is one thing. Now, my question is, what is our role now? What are we supposed to do? Now, in our schools, we can engage in online teaching practices that are gender responsive and result in bridging gender gaps. We must also bring about the skill development. Now, what are these skill development? What kind of skills? Foundational skills. We talk about, you know, the basics of the academics, the literacy and the numeracy skills and the LSRW skills as far as languages are concerned. Not only that, the basic foundational skills that are required, along with that, the transferable skills and the technical and vocational skills. I think these are the need of the hour. That is one thing that we can do. The second thing, NEP has recommended vocational training inside the school campus. Why is this? This is basically to acquaint the students with the first-hand experience of what a workplace looks like. Okay, what is going to, how the future world is going to look, or how she is going to fit into that very challenging and cruel world. It's a very challenging world out there. So give that kind of an experience, first-hand experience of the workplace. So it is our duty to take this forward. Okay, so now when I talk about the way forward, there are certain pointers that I have noted down. One is, let us remove every single barrier, eliminate all the barriers which come in the way of girl education. The second is, it's very crucial to focus on developing an inclusive school climate, not only inclusive school curriculum, the school climate also matters very much. The third is training based on gender responsive curriculum, which we are doing to some extent now. And of course, the related pedagogies. Why is this? To reverse the gender bias and the discrimination. We are going to reverse it. Okay. Then the fourth is, we could plan budgets which are gender responsive, and every educational plan and policy should prioritize gender equality. Then the fifth point is, we need to address other issues like distance related barriers, because, you know, the distance traveled sometimes comes in the way of girl education. So this can be addressed too, along with, you know, taking care of the menstrual hygiene management, the sex education sessions, etc., etc. The sixth point is, let us increase the girls' participation in STEAM learning. STEAM, when I say STEAM, science, technology, robotics, engineering, arts, and mathematics. We call it as the stream. So more girls into it. Let them take what they like, let them choose, and let them engage in the STEAM learning. The seventh point is, let's create initiatives to support girls transition. Basically, what's a transition? From the school to the workplace, from the learning phase to the career phase. So that transition, we have to create initiatives like career guidance, apprenticeships, and work experience programs. So I think this is what we can do. Well, you must have been thinking all these, oh my God, they look like lofty promises. Is it really practically possible? I must say, my gut feeling says yes. You and me, we edu leaders, we leaders of institutions, with whatever little authority we have, whatever vision we have, if we get together and move forward, I think we can definitely make a lot of difference. Now, as far as equitable and inclusive education is concerned, let's look at the plus and minus. The Gender Inclusion Fund is one plus, which supports female and transgender students to the inclusion activities, thereby developing safe and secure infrastructure, environment, all that. The second, special education zones, SEZs, and the Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalayas and the KVs, which are set up with a focus on improving the quantity as well as the quality of learning. So these are the major plus as far as the inclusion policy and the girl education is concerned. Now let's look at what are the minuses, the concerns, which is what really worries me. The NEP mentions about the culture of inclusion at school level, but there's no idea about how to make it happen. Somewhere the clarity is missing. So these loose ends, the missing points, I think we need to just plug them in and see how smooth transition can take place. The second minus is, if you look at the girls belonging to the minority groups, the learning outcomes have been deteriorating. What can be done to overcome this? So as teachers, we have to take the next step forward. So make sure that they are achieving the expected learning outcomes. The issue of girl child safety and sexual abuse is not addressed as in the GIF. So this is again another point that we need to look at. Well, it has been said that the government will determine some schemes on priority and will scale up the existing local community-based interventions. Why are these community-based interventions? Basically to improve the access and participation of the girl students. Now, I have a lot of question mark in this regard. Okay. Now, how is it that the community-based interventions can improve the participation of girl students? Now, let's break them down. The major concern here is, will the policy...
Please kindly conclude. It's
yes,
already
sir, I will
20
take
minutes.
I think I'll just take one and a half minute. That's it. Okay. Thank you so much. So now, will the NEP provide answers to these questions? First and foremost, how will the government prioritize these community-based interventions? Will it be based on some schemes which can impact in a particular city or district or state? Is it restricted to that location, or is it nationwide? Can the community-based interventions be planned across the country? One. Second, which community-based interventions will be selected for scaling up? How and on what basis these interventions can be selected? So what are the criteria for selection? I think these are the questions that are really haunting our minds at present. So in this regard, one crucial component in scaling up would be the local context. I really, I'm so happy to share that the localization of these aspects will definitely work. Particularly, you focus on a particular location. It works very well because you know what are the needs of that particular location. And things vary from place to place. India is a land of diversities and a lot of differences. So what works in one community may not work in the other community. So that is why I was reading this article by these research scholars, young research scholars by Karan and Shreya. So they have beautifully mentioned about this. It is imperative to conduct more small-scale studies in different regions within the same state, within the same location, geographic location. Why is it done? To generate local evidence, and then you can scale them up. See, when you have the hands-on, the first-hand information from that location, I think that is where you can use that information to scale up, and then you can, look into the future aspects. So I think this is what I wanted to share. And coming to the end, the policy is, I must say, it has attempted to develop a beautiful vision of reconstructing the nation's learning methodology and building a vibrant Bharat towards making Bharat-centric schooling. I have borrowed some inputs from the National Education Policy document, then from sources like Mainstream Weekly and womenalliance.org and certain things. So at the end, I think I'm really honored, really honored to have such a patient hearing, and thank you all. Thank you, Priyadarshi Nayak sir. Thank you, Sharma sir and Anshul ma'am for this wonderful opportunity. And thank you all educators. Jai Hind.
Great. Such a vivid report. I think we will straight away go to Anshul ma'am for her view and any other addition to be made into it. Ma'am, please unmute yourself.
I think it was a very nice presentation, very comprehensive. She touched upon everything. Thank you, ma'am, for the presentation. What I want to add is you have already mentioned how the position of women was earlier and then later to Mughals, and then after that, we have also mentioned about provisions and several other things. What I need to touch upon is when we are talking to the children in our classes, we need to remember some points. Maybe teachers will have to be trained for that because teachers are also a part of our society, and what we have learned is from our society only. So some of the things that teachers can do, just to give you an example, sometimes teachers may ask boys to pick up a bundle of notebooks and come, or they may ask a boy to shift the furniture and arrange. and girls mostly they are given work such as decorating the soft boards or doing like some easy stuff, you can say. So why do we want to teach our girls or train them in a manner that, okay, you are not capable enough of shifting the furniture? Why? Like some of the things while they talk to the students, because I know I have been a teachers are not doing it willingly, but they have never thought like that. So maybe if we can orient them to this, it would be very helpful for us. Secondly, in our curriculum also, like when we have pictures in our books also, so some of the time we show like a teacher is a lady teacher, a farmer working in the field is a man, a doctor other than a gynae is a male. So why do we want to show some such pictures? Can't we show like if a doctor, if a teacher is teaching, he's a male, or a farmer is a woman? We know so many women working in the fields. Why don't we show that to our children? So what we are doing is we are still training the children in the same way as what we were doing earlier. So we need to change from there. One more point is like while giving examples also, so in the books we would mention राधा रोटी बनाती है और राम जो है वो बाहर बॉल खेलता है. तो राम क्या बॉल खेलेगा और राधा ही क्यों रोटी बनाएगी? Can't we give an example कि राम रोटी बनाता है और राधा बाहर बॉल खेलती है? So this is the change or kind of examples that we need to bring in so as to orient our teachers also, because I say that they're not doing it willingly. It's there in the text. Everything has been structured in such a way. So this is what I just wanted to add. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you,
ma'am.
sir.
Thank you so much.
Lovely. Thank you very much, ma'am. That was wonderful to have discussions on promoting girl education in India. Let me now cordially invite the next set of speaker of the day, who will be speaking. She'll be speaking on recentering teacher for a Bharat-centering system. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our next speaker, Dr. Suganti Narayanan, Principal, Akhyata Public School, Bangalore. Ma'am, over to you. Namaskar.
Namaskar, sir. Thank you so much, and hope all of you are good during this pandemic situation. Stay safe. And out of the topic of mine, one thing what Dr. Ms. Meena Kumari was speaking and Anshul ma'am was saying about the roti, car, ball, everything. I just have one question for all of us, including me. We educate the girls. Don't go out after 6. Don't talk to the children. I mean, don't talk to your people or the men. Stay away. Keep a distance. But how many of us educate our boys at home? Teach the girls. I think that is what we need to focus much nowadays, because if that was not, because the education was only for the girls and not for the boys, I think that we have to change right from our home, maybe in the school as well. Thank you. Now getting into my topic, the whole purpose of education is to turn the mirrors into windows. That's what we are trying to do it now. And good evening and one and all present here, and very honored and privileged to be here sharing the virtual stage with all of you. Now, childhood forms the foundation of essential qualities such as curiosity, inquisitiveness, learning ability, along with social, moral, and emotional development. And education is a key that imparts good qualities in a child and aids his growth as a happy, healthy, and qualified individual. Not only that, education is the fundamental for achieving full human potential, developing an equitable and just society, and promoting national development. And universal high-quality education is the best way forward for developing and maximizing our country's rich talents and resources for the good of the individual, the society, the country, and the world. And India will have the highest population of young people in the whole universe. And our ability to provide high-quality educational opportunities to them will determine the future of our country. Now, we all know that the world is undergoing a rapid changes in the knowledge landscape, right? with various scientific and technological advances like machine learning, artificial intelligence, many unskilled jobs across the globe, which may be taken over by machines, while the need for a skilled workforce that is involving mathematics, computer science, data science, with multidisciplinary abilities across the science, social science, and humanities will be in great demand. And not only that, we all know in this scenario, if you see, education must move towards less content and more towards learning about how to think critically and solve problems, how to be creative and multidisciplinary, how to innovate, adapt, and absorb new materials in novel and changing fields. And pedagogy must evolve to make education more experiential, holistic, integrated, inquiry-driven, discovery-oriented, learner-centered, discussion-based, flexible, and very, very important, like how Dr. Vikesh ma'am has said, most important is enjoyable. That is very, very important. And not only that, education must build character, enable the learners to be more ethical, rational, compassionate, and caring, at the same time prepare them for gainful, fulfilling employment. Now, if you all see, there is a huge gap between what we are talking about, the required pattern of education, and the current state of learning outcomes. Now, how do we bridge that? That's very important, right? And of course, that can be done by the major reforms, which has to bring high quality education system for all learners, right from the pre-primary to the higher level. Now, when we take up this national education policy, what was that one factor behind that? Why should we have a new policy when we had an old one? What is that one fact or one aspect that they had in mind to have this new one? The rich heritage of ancient and eternal Indian knowledge and thought. And that has been a guiding light for this policy. The aim of education in ancient India was not just the acquisition of knowledge as preparation of life in this world or for the life beyond schooling, but for the complete realization and liberation of the self. That was, the essence of our Indian culture, I should say. And not only that, Indian culture and philosophy had a strong influence in the world. But with all these changes taken place, with scientific changes, technological changes, all these things, can we forget the name of a few teachers of earlier times who had contributed for India? Namely, Susutra, Aryabhatta, Bhaskaracharya, Brahmagupta, Chanakya, Maitreya. I have heard these names being spoken by other speakers also. We don't forget them, right? Why? Because they had made a great contribution to the world knowledge in diverse fields such as mathematics, metallurgy, medical science, surgery, chess, yoga, name it, they had done it. So for these legacies to world heritage should not only be nurtured and preserved, but also be researched. It has to be enhanced and brought into our education system. Now, coming to the main point, implementing such bold objectives, that will require training teachers, educators, and also our official staffs appropriately, along with preparing a pool of excellent, motivating guides. Now, learning has to be an enjoyable and engaging task rather than an arduous exercise, which ultimately turns out unemployable youth. For this, the teachers must be at the center of fundamental reforms in the education system. So the new education policy must help re-establish teachers at all levels as the most respected and essential members of our society, because they are the ones truly shaping the next generation of citizens. So it must do everything to empower teachers and help them to do their job as effectively as possible. The new education policy must recruit the very best and brightest to enter the teaching profession at all levels by ensuring livelihood, respect, dignity, and autonomy, while also instilling in the system-basic method of quality control in the country. Now, what is required for recentering teachers for a Bharat Century? And one of the speakers had asked, who is a good teacher? Yes, I'm asking that now to myself. I had started my career as a teacher, nursery teacher, and then I had become the coordinator and then the vice principal. Today, the principal. As ma'am said, even I had very much challenges when I was teaching, and the way I'm being in this field for past 28 years, the content that I was teaching 10 years back, the methodology is totally different from what I was teaching and what the teaching is currently now. And unless and until we adapt to the change, it's very difficult to match the children of our age now. That's very important. Now, teachers teaching up to class 5 will be required to impart education in Hindi or their respective regional language. That is what is saying. So the policy states that the teacher in mother tongue should be also be done till 8. So now what we have to do is we have to train our teachers saying that they should have a command over either Hindi or their native language. Only then they'll be able to reach out to the children. And the second point is the policy calls for reduction in school curriculum to promote high quality content, critical thinking, analysis-based learning. So the curriculum will be reduced to its core, and there will be more of interactive teaching instead of textbook learning. So it's the need for a qualified teachers to adapt the ways to make students understand the core essential of the subjects and develop critical thinking instead of rote learning. And the school and the institute that recruit teachers also have a transparent recruitment. And I think for this purpose that NPST has been set up. So I think that will give a more of getting standard teachers. And the new education policy clearly states that by 2030, the minimum education qualification for teachers would be 4 years integrated B.Ed. And so this will be trained in high quality content and pedagogy. If it happens, then the 4-year B.Ed teachers would be able to do a wonderful job in the classroom. And in order to improve classroom process, enable disadvantaged groups to have easy access to classroom education, and to enable professional development of teachers, the use of technology will be engaged. So as such, now we see the pandemic has taught us how to have an online class. People, those who are not even having, no, I don't know computer, I can't do this. Now they have no excuse for that. They have developed, they have changed. So this will enable them, to teachers to have the acquired skill to be technically advanced. And not only that, I just wanted to add one more point here, that, and it's a request to the policymakers as well here, which if Mr. Nayak could take it up forward. The emphasis should be given on an industry academia partnership. That is very important because they keep educational institutes in tune with changing industry requirements and drive them to introduce programs that respond directly to their demands. Similarly, the companies can also help their employees to keep themselves updated with the right knowledge and skills by approaching specialized training and skilling organization as consultant. So if this has been done, because I have seen very much when 10th standard, the children are not doing properly, the higher secondary teachers, they blame the high school teachers. Ma'am, the child didn't know these are the basic things for higher secondary. We ask the high school teachers, teachers will blame the middle school teachers. In turn, the middle school teachers the primary is elementary. So I think there is no connectivity. So likewise, when what we are teaching in the school and colleges and what is required for the person to get into the corporate world, I think there should be some bridging facility about this. And I also wanted to inculcate certain things which we were following in our school a couple of years ago. Now, due to pandemic, we have stopped. This 360 degree of assessment, we had done it in 2019 in our school. So we used to have activity every month, elocution, recitation, and it's not the first, second, third place. We used to give the rubrics, and we used to have a teacher who would be assessing that. We used to have a peer assessing that, and the self assessment was done. So this 360 degrees we had done. And we had also had this gardening, which Mr. Nayak was saying, and others also were saying that we had gardening and we had the preschool. It was my school, was just a pre-primary school. And so our children, they had, had a garden. The specific area was given to each child or two children. And they had made, sowed the seed, methi, coriander, palak, all these things. And at the end of that month, they used to keep it for selling. And we had asked our own teachers to buy that. that is for the management, financial management, and that was given to the management of the school, saying that the contribution from the school side. And our field trips, we had taken them to the carrot field, because once when I went to the classroom and I asked, where do you, they had that orange thing. And the one child was holding a carrot, and I asked, where do you get this carrot from? Immediately she said, Amity Mark. So the children didn't even know that it is coming. So we had tied up with the farmer. We had taken them to the carrot field during the harvest time, and we made the children to pull out the carrot from the field and show them that this is how the carrot looks. The carrot that you get in the supermarket is a washed one and everything, but this is how it looks. And this is what we were doing it. And we had taken up the coconut leaves and we were making the storons and everything we were teaching them. And in 2020, we had a curriculum right from grade 3 to 8th standard to have electrical work, plumbing work. These were there. And grade 8 also had a project which was tied up with a farmer, that right from sowing, they will be learning with the farmer. In every stage they would be going. This was our plan, and we had it. And unfortunately, pandemic has made us all go havoc. And I think we will start once again. And whatever said and done, a guru was once the epitome of knowledge and the only source of learning. But learning was that time, the learning was holistic, life to life in a remote Gurukul system. But with the invention of the printing press in 15th century, the knowledge, the information got segmented, it got transcribed, it got documented, and it was circulated as periodicals and books, right? But whatever said and done, a teacher was and still important. Only thing is that the dependence of the teacher has come down. But by focusing on teachers training, I think we can recenter the teachers for the Bharat-centric system. Thank you, Mr. Nayak, for the opportunity given to me, and I hope I have kept it within my time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ma'am. Over to you, Anshul ma'am, for your ad. Something you want to add to?
Yeah, thank you so much, Sugandhi ma'am. It was a very wonderful presentation. It was lovely listening to you. I just want to re-emphasize on the point, like, अगर हमें जो ये topic कहता है कि recentering teachers for Bharat-centric system, so हमें टीचर्स को वो सम्मान वापस दिलाना होगा जो उनके पास में एंशिएंट इंडिया में था. वो चीज हमें, वो स्थान जो था, वो हमें टीचर्स को वापस दिलाना होगा. हम फिनलैंड मॉडल की अक्सर बात करते हैं, एग्जाम्पल्स देते हैं, लेकिन वहां पे हमें ये भी तो देखना चाहिए कि उनका तरीका क्या है, वो किस तरह से अपने टीचर्स को ट्रीट करते हैं, किस तरह से वो उनको सम्मान देते हैं. तो क्या हम वो कर रहे हैं? तो ये कुछ चीजें हैं जो हमें सोचनी होंगी. इसके अलावा अगर हम और कंट्रीज की बात करें तो वहां पे टीचर्स जो है क्यूरिकुलम भी खुद बना रहे हैं. So maybe we are not at that point now, but for now, at least we can trust our teachers, and we will have to give them freedom to work in their classes at least. Thank you so much, madam. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you, ma'am. Wonderful presentation, Sugandhi ma'am. Today's last speaker and the last topic to be discussed, developing Bharatiya school culture. It's a very important topic in the mean, even though we were all discussing on making Bharat-centric schooling. Let me call upon, with regards, Madam Mamta Chandra, Principal, Samsit MLJS, Vidyanpura Branch, Bangalore. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. My pranams to Dr. Priyadarshini Nayak and to Professor Sharma. I have been a kind of follower of your every word, sir. You've been so inspiring. It's really been a wonderful journey to be in the SEDEX talk always. And to all the honorable speakers, I thank you very much today for the reason that you have created ground for my discussion. Thank you very much on that. And thank you, SEDEX platform, for giving us this kind of an experience where we all are thinking in the same direction. And I'm sure the time is not far when we will all realize NEP as the goal, and by 2030, 35, we will reach where we are targeting ourselves to reach. And thank you, Anshul ma'am. Wonderful insights from the beginning. Thank you very much. It was a joy listening to you. In fact, I would like to start exactly from where all of the speakers have been speaking. I'm glad my topic has come at the end because this would be a kind of summing up is what I'm understanding also. See, when we look at education in ancient India, we felt, yes, an educated person is one who continuously is engaged in the search of knowledge. And education was the pursuit of Gyan, Pragya, and Satya. Gyan being knowledge, Pragya being wisdom, and Satya being truth. This was education in ancient India. We looked at the pursuit of children and all our disciples, as in the Gurukul system, realizing their life, through the not only the means of the learning and the knowledge part, but also by inculcating values as good human beings. We looked at developing the values of respect, of of humanity, of kindness, of being grateful to others, and also being happy. Finally, the contentment, the happiness. These are all what was the main goal of education. Because I don't think any of the ancient texts would have prescribed children to be in a fixed mode and look for their goals alone. It was never like that. And sadly, with the advent of the colonialist the way of education, where we reached is in a confused state. Because in fact, I would like to bring our attention to ourselves first. What schooling we have seen, and then today we are sitting here as principals and teachers, and all of this thought process, whether the gender sensitivity, whether vocational training, all of these. Okay, so we have to see first what we have seen in our schooling. Why is the thought process coming that we need a major change here? It is because we all are into this together now, trying to make a shift. And definitely it is not difficult, because whatever said and done, we are Indians, we adapt beautifully, and we are ready to learn. That is one thing. So here I would also like to remind everyone on this forum that when we are talking of a student, so who are the people a child gets influenced by? Okay, initially it is the parents, family, maybe friends, and then in a formal setup of a school teachers, major impact, because that life is there with them for almost 12 years. And then we move on to even the boards, the different rules that come into schooling, education system, they also somewhere influence a child. And then the society in large. So we need a coordination between these four stakeholders if we want that one child to think in one direction. Why I'm saying this is, as I was observing, whether we talk of gender equality or importance to vocational education, we all need to think the same. Every adult of this country needs to think the same. Otherwise, a child who is taught in school, now suppose a child learns in school that, yes, I can do pottery if I love pottery, okay, and I can still make a life out of it. What are the aspirations at home? Will the child be allowed to do? What is the recognition in society for these children? These are the questions that are going to arise. Now we also say we are preparing children for AI and ML coming in future. We don't know for how long AI and ML is here to stay. Because when we say education is preparing children for life, we must understand a life that is so uncertain, which is dynamic, and where our children need the strength now is to accept that change, is to have an open-mindedness to accept the change. And still, even as they grow into adults, we need to make them very strong to accept all the changes, to accept failures, to take things in their stride and still move as strong individuals. So that is the strength. We also have to look parallelly in our education at schools where the teachers can make a difference. Because when I also look at it, a child will develop a kind of a Bharatiya culture, which we are saying in terms of values, in terms of having pride as an Indian. Because if we again look around at us, the pride, what is the percentage of children who are really proud of our country, who know about the goodness of our country? How many children know that our country is the richest country in terms of natural resources, in terms of culture, in terms of diversity? It is a beautiful country, which we need to highlight that to the children. And here I would really need to also bring in the attention of the society in large, the parents also, and what our adults are growing into. Because right now, if we start from the early childhood education, now with the NEP, from this year on, we start all of these inculcation in the school. Many of us are already doing it. We are already practicing values at school through our meditation practices, with constant yogic mindful practices during every period, just to energize the children. Today we are talking in the pandemic times of alternate breathing exercise, Brahmari Pranayam. All of this is part of our culture. We have been with it always, but where have we emphasized that in schools? So this is one thing which came to my mind. Also, the other thing which I'm seeing is every school now is in competition. I can, at least in the urban areas, I can take this liberty of quoting. We all want to take in a British Council accreditation as international dimension school. It's high time we introduce national dimension school soon, because we need our children from the early childhood stage up to the at least grade 10, 11th and 12th. I still leave it for the professional decisions that children need to take at that time. But we need to see what are the, the Bharatiya culture, what is it that we want to do? And then also let us understand by 30, 35, the ones who are in the higher education institutions are going to be parents. So these parents need to understand our, idea of a Bharatiya culture. What is it that we are trying to bring in schools? So I feel a need to introduce this as a part of one subject or a paper, even in higher education institutions, where, let the students learn solely on Bharatiya culture, one paper, 100 marks, one more is okay, or 180 marks, whatever. But then we introduce it very consciously, because these are the ones who will tomorrow by 30 and 35 be the parents of our schools. So they need to know, okay, what is the importance, because it will not be only, kind of limited to the group of teachers or a group of schools or educators per se. I see this as a whole big movement in the country. If we have to make NEP a success, it has to be a movement, each of us. And believe me, when I first read the NEP, the first thing I felt was, we all have no retirement, none of us. We are going to work towards this endlessly, because every educated person, every person who has the passion to make this a success, it may be an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, whoever. It need not be very necessarily a teacher or a retired teacher. No, we want all the adults to come into this, because like we are talking of, gender equality. Gender equality at schools may happen. घर में जाके अगर लड़की को रोटी बेल के ही रखना है, फिर क्या करेंगे? This is where we need to think of a mindset change. There has to be a complete shift in the mindset, where I take responsibility as a school principal, which actually my school is doing also, where we want to bring in the parents into this, bandwagon of inculcating values in children. We teach of equality. We teach children, yes, in our culture, we all are equal, everything fine. At home, he gets to know that he is not supposed to eat in somebody's house, in a friend's house, because of whatever culture difference, caste difference, we don't know what. And then a maid, okay, we treat our maids in schools as aunties. We teach that culture in children, not to belittle. That is our Indian culture, is what we see. We respect everybody. We honor the people who help us. But when they go home, when their parents treat their maids in a certain way, the support staff in their homes, what is the confusion a child will have? So can we really develop culture? Because I'm talking on the topic of a Bharatiya culture. it's a very huge, very word with a great impact on a very large amount of people. So the amount of people involved in inculcating this culture also should be immense, is what I feel. The next thing I would come to is national pride. Again, I have personally been involved twice in my career, of the last almost quarter century of Swan, which I'm involved in teaching, that, when you ask children, how many high school children of the age group of 9th to 12th standard take pride in saying that I want to become a soldier, I want to serve the country. I'm not talking of being an officer in the armed forces or a soldier. No, I'm not making the differentiation. Soldier is soldier for me, person who serves a country. How many are ready for that? That's a major question. Talking of national pride, as Indians, as our culture, if we have to bring in that, I'm glad the NEP has also spoken about, children getting involved in national service and, NCC being part of schools. Definitely we need it. We need that very badly, because that is where we can make a difference. There are so many children. Again, I have taught a set of children some years ago, where I was talking of Tamil Nadu and I was talking of Assam, in the class. And children did not know where Assam is. Really, I'm not joking. It was a very, educated bunch of parents also who were, the parent profile was very good. But children didn't know. Why? Because they go on foreign holidays, they go on this thing. They hardly get any exposure to the goodness in India. So when do we get all that? How do we bring that in? So, I feel teachers definitely are already adopting themselves. I've seen teachers as a very extremely flexible mode of people who are ready to get themselves molded. Especially the last 1 year has shown us how capable our teachers are in, adopting to things, doing things, everything. But when we look at NEP in, in a single with a single lens, we need to see that we have to involve so many people and also plan for the next 10 years. Who are those parents going to be who are going to send children to us, and what are we going to say? Because, again, multilingualism is a fantastic thing. NEP is a document which is going to be the Bible for next one. I would say that Bible because we say that in English, it's not related to a religion, but then that is going to be for us the, we call it as the Bhagavad Gita, or the third document of education. So we need to see, how we'll make this a success. And this is a fantastic platform Sir has created for all of us to discuss and, get our minds together into this. But I would seriously suggest two things. One is introducing Bharatiya culture in higher education institutions, and this thing, bringing in some kind of a national service into the minds of children at school level. At school level, probably involving them. And maybe we can also introduce accreditations where, which gives schools a scope to do all of the things that relate to India. And also, if we are doing the same thing for international dimension in schools, why not do something for national dimension in schools and get an accreditation and, be recognized for it? Because everything is finally related to appreciation and recognition, even in children, even in adults, in institutions, for a country and all of us. So I felt those were the three things we could probably also look into going forward. Apart from that, my topic is too vast. I can keep speaking if I do. So I know already we are, having paucity of time. So thank you all very much for this wonderful platform. I'm grateful that, we got to have so many insights in all of this. And I got an opportunity to speak amongst all the elite educationists here, and so many of you who have achieved so much in this field. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Ma'am, it was a wonderful session, wonderful speaking about, your vision, your view on developing a Bharatiya school culture in India. Over to Anshul ma'am for your final view of the final speaker.
Very well presented, Mamta ma'am. The topic was developing Bharatiya school culture. So just one or two things I would like to add. Ma'am, you talked about mindset change. So when you say that you tell students something to do and at the home something else is happening, like you gave an example of a maid. So I'm very much sure that once you teach the child, so he's going to tell the parents and say that this is not the right way to talk to the maid. We can be a little softer. So I think that's the reason that schools can bring a change, and we are all relying on schools for that. Secondly, we all are aware that in schools there are activity classes. So can we teach our children or organize some type of cleaning activities for them to clean the schools? But we have to see that are our parents ready for it? So maybe will have to create that culture. We will have to convince the parents, and I think that this will help them be together, work together, the boys and girls as a team, how to work together, because that is what that they have to do and live with in the society also. So I think it can be a great platform for learning from each other also. And thank you to all the speakers, Vikesh Kaur ma'am, Mamta ma'am, and Ram sir, and Sugandha ma'am. And I think if I've missed someone, I'm very sorry for that. And thank you to Priyadarshi sir for creating this platform where so much of knowledge is being generated every day. And I think a very good knowledge sharing platform this is. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thanks to CB Sharma sir also for always motivating and guiding all academia. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. It was so pleasure to have you today in this evening. Let me straight away, we have already crossed the time limit. It's already 15 minutes, but certainly would love to listen the final view, not only on this topic, making Bharat-centric schooling, but we have completed the entire series of a 5-day session, which was having revisiting issues in schooling post NEP 2020. Sir, what is the next vision? What exactly the school leaders need to do it? I think each one of us, the 250, 300 people every day regularly used to listen. But what is the mandate now? What exactly we are expecting that the school leaders to do it? I know the mean, but I want you to speak on. Please, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you once again. And I think we are 16 minutes past scheduled time when we should have called it a day. हम स्कूल में बच्चे घड़ी देखते रहते हैं कि कब समय हुआ, और उसके बाद जो आप पढ़ाते हैं ना, विश्वास रखिए कोई बच्चा नहीं सुनता है. 4 बज गया, खत्म आपका लेक्चर. तो लेकिन 17 मिनट आगे हो गया है. But I'm a teacher, so I cannot have my dinner without boring you. ये तो मेरा अधिकार है भाई. आज देखिए आपने बुला के लाया है, तो ये तो अब झेलना ही पड़ेगा चाहे समय जितना भी निकल जाए. And particularly because today is the last day, and this is a very, very important theme. As I have been mentioning right from the beginning, this policy is very, very crucial, pivotal, because the government has the will and the determination to make school education. Trust me, this is majorly about school education. We are going to make major changes in higher education, but you will see major transformation in the school, and that would be making education Bharat Kendrit. And today's topic was that. When everybody was saying, so many stereotypes were mentioned. I'm not much concerned now, having been in the process for more than 3 decades. And I have been hearing this example कि वो सीता ही क्यों रोटी बनाती है, राम ही क्यों फुटबॉल खेलता है या बाहर जाता है. ये माइनर हो गया है मेरे लिए. अब बच्चे समझ गए हैं. आपको मैं एक उदाहरण सुनाऊं, और ये पर्सनल है लेकिन आपके लिए बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट होगा. My son was born abroad, and grew up in his early years in UK. When I came to India and I was in Delhi, we applied for his admission to class 1 in a Delhi school. So somebody informed me the list is out. So I took him and went to the school. So many parents were standing. So I took him in my lap and said, "Do you find your name, whether your name is there?" So he read his name and then said, "Son of Chandra Bhushan Sharma." He immediately turned towards me and said, "Daddy, Mummy's name is not mentioned." Nobody taught him. It was not in the curriculum. That is in the culture. How do we bring that? हम केवल सीता और राम की बात बहुत समय तक किए. I believe we need to do some fundamental change. Vikesh ma'am, can you think how can vocational be introduced at 3 years? We won't be doing it for the first time. We have done it. And world is doing it, mind you. हम अभी भी class 6 में बात कर रहे हैं vocational का. I'm not very happy that in our national education policy we have brought it late. The foundation stage that we are talking about, can we introduce some form of vocational? हम जब भी vocational की बात करते हैं, pottery आ जाता है, electricity आ जाता है, mechanical आ जाता है, इसको हम electrician कैसे बनाएं या एक potter कैसे बनाएं? No. कुछ fundamental difference change आना चाहिए हमारे पूरे system में कि हम इन सब से आगे निकल के बात करें. एक लड़का अपना बटन लगा ले और लड़की अपना कोई और काम कर ले, या हमारी लड़कियां आर्मी में चली जाएं, इससे आगे सोचें. कुछ we quote examples. We have been quoting examples. I think Anshu mentioned, ma'am mentioned, I think Meena ma'am. But why should we be restricted to only examples? 50% of the population is of rural. So 50% participation should be there. Can we think of a different model? I will again request Meena ma'am, think over it. Think of something new. I'm looking for ideas because somewhere, somehow I influence the developments. And I told you I'm working on it. क्या बने, किताबें कैसी बननी चाहिए, उसमें वोकेशनल की जो बात आए, जो जेंडर की बात आए, वो क्या आए. I've been approaching experts and every expert starts talking about वेद में ये लिखा है औरतों के बारे में, ये औरतें मेरी आइकन्स हैं. उससे क्या अंतर पड़ेगा? हमको ये बताइए कि क्या चेंज होना चाहिए. I'm reminded you talked about POSCO and about good touch, bad touch. I think it was 2005-6 when Chaudhary, I'm forgetting her first name, she was the Minister of State for Education, and this came. And I had heard an interview of hers on the television where she was teaching her daughter cookery. I'm forgetting her first name, Chaudhary, I think she was from Andhra Pradesh. I called her immediately. I said, ma'am, this has been introduced. Go and look at the curriculum about good touch, bad touch. I said, I want to come to your house and teach your daughter what you have curriculum. She said, send me the paper, send me the chapter, let me have a look, I'll come back. She called me after 3 hours. Professor Sharma, I feel ashamed as Minister of Education. I'm asking it to be removed. Why should we borrow the Western concept of good touch, bad touch? Can we not teach our children about these things without really making it explicit? हमारा एक नया मॉडल लाइए मीना मैम, कोई नई बात होनी चाहिए. दुनिया हमारे करिकुलम को, हमारी किताबों को देखे. हम ला रहे हैं वेस्ट से किताब और उसको हम कह रहे हैं कि यही हमारे यहाँ क्यों नहीं है. नहीं, हमारी किताबों को वो ले जाए. ध्यान से जरा देखिए. एक बड़े, there is a very renowned name in India today, and I had approached him to write on this. He has sent me his article today. I've been editing it since morning, and we have been exchanging mails and messages since morning on this topic. यही स्ट्रगल कर रहे हैं कि हम वो भारत क्या है, द स्पिरिट ऑफ भारत कैसे निकाल के लाए, इस पर काम करिए. I know you can do it. You understand children, you understand schooling, you understand who is this to be groomed and transformed. तो हम क्लीचेस पर नहीं जाएं, हम स्टीरियोटाइप्स पर नहीं जाएं, डेफिनेटली नहीं जाएं, और वेस्ट को तो डेफिनेटली कॉपी नहीं करें. देखिए ममता मैम से बहुत अच्छा निकला, ये गॉस्पेल है, हम लोग उसी में ट्रेन हुए हैं. हम जब मंदिर जाते हैं तो ये करते हैं, क्योंकि हम वहीं से ट्रेंड हैं. I had said once on one of the interviews in NDTV that it's soft conversion, because we have been trained in that. That is the importance of education, Mamta ma'am. What symbols, what practices to be introduced at age 3 that they feel proud. I'm again, आपने जब NSS और NCC की बात की, I'm a great fan of Smriti Irani. और हम हर बार बोलते हैं, जो कि बहुत लोग नाराज होते हैं, कई मंत्री नाराज हो जाते हैं. Brightest education minister India ever had. She had introduced this idea. Do you know? When she became minister, she said NCC के बच्चों को लाओ, वापस NCC लाओ और इनको फ्रंट पर भेजो. हमारे बच्चे लद्दाख में, अरुणाचल में जाकर के फ्रंट में जो हमारे आर्मी के जवान हैं उनके साथ रहे थे. वर्षों बाद, दशकों बाद ये बात इंट्रोड्यूस हुई थी. लेकिन जब हम करते हैं तो हमें क्वेश्चन ये किया जाता है, ये इतना खर्च होगा इस पर. सी वॉज ओनली मिनिस्टर, होने दीजिए, यही खर्च चाहिए है. और वो अब पॉलिसी में आया है, आप देखिए. और ये बहुत जरूरी है. देश के लिए जो प्रेम होना चाहिए, उसका एक नया मॉडल दिया था स्मृति ईरानी ने कि इन बच्चों को 10 दिन के लिए वहां जाकर के रहने दो बॉर्डर पर. कैसे मेरा जवान, हम सब कहते रहते हैं आर्मी आर्मी आर्मी, ये सब देश के जब हैं और बचाते हैं, इनको हम लोग इज्जत दें. कैसे दें, क्या दें उनके लिए, कैसे इज्जत पैदा करें. Again, I will say, Vikesh ma'am, Meena ma'am, Mamta ma'am, they all think of very new ideas, जो कहीं दुनिया की किताबों में नहीं है. आप कोई नई बात कह सकती हैं क्या? We are at that juncture. I mean, I must again compliment Priyadarshi ji. We are at that juncture. Don't miss the train. जो भी ideas है अभी दीजिए, साल भर बाद बेकार हो जाएगा. We are in the process of designing the national curriculum framework, and the textbook would be written based on that. Whatever your ideas in making a Bharat-centric national curriculum framework, textbooks, what stories to be included, वो सब अभी दीजिए. हमको लगता है कि जैसे योगा की बात भी है, योगा कहाँ घुसा दे हम टेक्स्ट बुक में, क्या होना चाहिए, किस उम्र में क्या होना चाहिए. हम लोगों ने बहुत काम किया. आप एनसीटी की किताबें देखें तो वहां बनी है किताबें, आपका सीबीएसई ने भी किताबें बनाई हैं. लेकिन उसको इंट्रोड्यूस कैसे करें, किस उम्र के बच्चों में क्या, ये आइडियाज चाहिए अभी. That is what we expected, and that is what let us keep working on. I think Priyadarshi ji is hearing, and he will work on it. Again, teacher kahan, kis jagah. Again, I think Anshul mentioned very good thing. They cannot be the best paid. They are never the best paid anywhere. We keep quoting example of Finland. Finland teachers are not the best paid. We keep saying that, but they are not the best paid, but best respected. We work either for economic benefit, social benefit, or moral benefit. This profession gives us that moral strength. हम कहीं भी समाज में जाके कहते हैं कि भाई मैं प्रोफेसर हूं, मैं टीचर हूं, लोग कहते हैं सर आइए सर आप आगे आ जाइए. ये कैसे रीइंस्टेट किया जाए, हमारे लिए नहीं, आपके लिए नहीं, समाज के लिए, इस देश के लिए. जब तक टीचर रीइंस्टेट नहीं होगा, I have said on a previous occasion, I'll repeat, maybe I don't deserve to be professor, but this nation has called me a professor. Maybe you don't deserve to be a school principal, but somehow, because you didn't have good principles, you selected me. Now, you have no option but to tell the people, the student, seize the principal, respect her. Anshul very well mentioned कि हमने पूरे के पूरे फैब्रिक इंडस्ट्री को कैसे इंडिया का खराब किया, यही हमने एजुकेशन को किया. टीचर के प्रेस्टीज को सिस्टमेटिकली डिस्ट्रॉय कर दिया, समाज खत्म हो गया. टीचर को रीइंस्टेट कर दो, देखो फिर तुम्हारा समाज कैसे बनता है. एंड व्हाटएवर वी आर सेइंग, आई हैव बीन सेइंग, इफ यू आर सेइंग इन फेवर ऑफ टीचर्स, प्रिंसिपल्स, देयर प्रेस्टीज, you are not doing it for yourself. लेट पीपल थिंक फॉर सम टाइम कि अच्छा विकेश मैम तो प्रिंसिपल है, प्रिंसिपल कर रही हैं। नहीं, ये नहीं है। आप अपने लिए नहीं कर रही हैं, आप इस देश के लिए कर रही हैं, और ये कहना जरूरी है। इसीलिए मैं बिल्कुल हर प्लेटफॉर्म पर ये बात करता हूं, रीइंस्टेट टीचर्स के बिना नहीं होगा फॉर नेशन। आई थिंक भारत सेंट्रिक पर हम लोगों को और बात करना चाहिए। ये पॉलिसी भारत सेंट्रिक एजुकेशन बनाने के लिए है, एंड let us work more on this, bring up new ideas, and this is the time. 1 year down the line, May, June, July 2022, you will miss the train. You will see things rolling out. The work is in progress at a breakneck speed. This is the time, Priyadarshi ji, आपका SEDEX papers, white papers आने चाहिए, और आपके ideas आने चाहिए. All the great principles you have on your platform, put them together, ask them to write. I have been saying you are shy of writing your ideas. Do that. आपको बहुत प्रेस्टीज से सुना जाएगा। आप एक बार बोलिए तो, बुलवाइए तो। Thank you once again very much, Priyadarshi ji. I know I'm testing your patience. I'm exceeding time, but then I'm emotional about education, school education, and how we can transform it. Thank you once again for giving me this opportunity. Thanks to all the 25 speakers and 5 co-chairs who have spoken and given time and shared ideas. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you,
sir. Your insightful and your thoughts into this concept of NEP, I think, is wonderful. आप हर दिन जो भी बोलते हैं, एक नया ऊर्जा हम लोग को मिलता है। हाँ, यस, शिक्षकों को और जो स्कूल लीडर्स आज यहाँ पर हैं, इनको कुछ हटके करना है। हमको लीडरशिप लेके आना है, हमको लीडर्स बनना है। सिर्फ लीडरशिप हम स्कूल के लीडर से कह देने से नहीं होगा। आज अगर नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी के लिए हम बात कर रहे हैं, अगर उसका चर्चा कर रहे हैं, तो उसको लीड करने के लिए साहस भी रखें, और उसको लीड करने के लिए हमको अपने को ये समझना पड़ेगा अपने क्या क्या नया आइडियाज है, नए क्रिएटिव वर्क है जो हम करना चाहते हैं, कर सकते हैं। हर 5 पॉइंट में हमने जो 5 पॉइंट ये लास्ट 5 दिन में डिस्कस करा, रेगुलेटरी गवर्नेंस मैकेनिज्म, इसमें कहा है कि एक रेगुलेटरी अथॉरिटी बिल आना चाहिए, एक एक्ट पास होना चाहिए, एक ऑटोनॉमी स्कूल लीडर्स को मिलना चाहिए, ये हमको चाहिए। एग्जामिनेशन असेसमेंट रिफॉर्म्स हमको करना है। कैसे आप एग्जामिनेशन करवाएंगे, कैसे असेसमेंट बच्चों का किया जाएगा, ये हमको सुझाव देने को मौका मिलना चाहिए, हमारी बात रहना चाहिए। रोल ऑफ लैंग्वेज इन स्कूलिंग, कैसे हमारे मदर टंग होनी चाहिए, कैसे टीचर्स की रिक्रूटमेंट होगी, ये सब हमको तय करना होगा। मेरे फ्रेंड्स, मेरे ऑल एजुकेटर्स, रिफॉर्म्स इन टीचर एजुकेशन या जो भी हो, एक भारत सेंट्रिक स्कूलिंग या भारत सेंट्रिक जो कल्चर हमको प्रोड्यूस करना है, वो सिर्फ स्कूल लीडर्स ही कर सकते हैं। आज अभी जस्ट 6 बजे प्रधानमंत्री जी ने एक ट्वीट करा है, आपको पता, मैंने जस्ट पता होगा, नहीं पता होगा, अभी एक ट्वीट में आया कि प्रधानमंत्री, प्राइम मिनिस्टर has announced that all children who have lost both parents or guardian due to COVID-19 will be supported under Prime Minister Cares for Children scheme. Such children to get a monthly stipend once they turn 18 and a fund of rupees 10 lakh when they turn 23 from the Prime Minister Cares. So friends, मेरा ये कहना है कि ये अनाउंसमेंट प्रधानमंत्री जी ने बच्चों के लिए, जिनके पेरेंट्स उन्होंने खो दिया है, उन बच्चों के लिए। मुझे ये भी लगता है ऐसे एक दिन भी आएगा कि टीचर की जो रिक्वायरमेंट है, जो प्रिंसिपल्स बोलना चाहते हैं, एक उनको ऑटोनॉमी मिलनी चाहिए, एक उनकी बात सुननी चाहिए, एक उनके बात रखने के लिए उनको एक स्कोप दिया जाना चाहिए। ये भी एक फोरम में आके कभी प्रधानमंत्री जी ये अनाउंस करें, और ये अनाउंसमेंट तभी होगा जब हम कुछ करने लायक, कुछ करने सक्षम होंगे। अगर हमारे व्यूज और हमारे इनपुट्स इतने सही होंगे कि हम उसके आगे प्रेजेंट कर पाए। सो आई विल सर्टेनली रिक्वेस्ट, मेरा जो नेक्स्ट मैगजीन आ रही है, उस मैगजीन में मैं चाहूंगा कि आपके जितने भी क्रिएटिव आइडियाज हैं, आई इनवाइट ऑल, जितने भी स्कूल लीडर्स हैं, मैं कल से ही इसको इन द ग्रुप सबके डालूंगा कि एजुकेशन पॉलिसी में जो भी है और आपके जो भी क्रिएटिव आइडियाज हैं, एक ऑटोनॉमी समझ के, एक लीडरशिप लेके आप उस आइडियाज को लिखिए, और उस आइडियाज को मैं ये करता हूं कि जितने भी बड़ी बुक हो जाए, जितने भी बड़ी मैगजीन हो, वो मैगजीन एक हार्ड कॉपी के हिसाब से आउट करा जाएगा, और जितने भी ऑनलाइन में प्लेटफॉर्म में है, वो यूट्यूब में वगैरह वगैरह में सब जगह इसको किया जाएगा। सो आई विल रिक्वेस्ट ऑल ऑफ यू कि आप सब लिखिए, आप सब इस मुहिम में, इस जो आप अपने आप को समझते हैं कि एक अच्छे शिक्षाविद हैं, इसको बोलने की भी अभी ये टाइम आया है कि इसको बोला जाए, इसको लिखा जाए, लोगों के सामने लाया जाए। सो विद दीज रिक्वेस्ट कि आप इस सिचुएशन को समझेंगे, जैसे सर का कहना है, अगर 1 साल और चला गया तो गाड़ी छूट जाएगी, और हमको ये ज्यादा देर नहीं करना है। आपकी व्यूज, हम लीडर्स बहुत अच्छे हैं, बहुत क्रिएटिव है, बहुत इनोवेटिव है, अपने अपने जगह में बेहतरीन काम करते हैं, लेकिन अगर काम को सबके सामने दिखाया नहीं जाए, अगर हम इतना बड़ा काम करते हैं लेकिन थोड़ा भी अगर सामने नहीं दिखाएंगे, तो लोगों को पता नहीं चलेगा कि विकेश कौर मैडम क्या करती हैं, या मीना मैडम क्या करती हैं, या ममता मैडम क्या करती हैं। मेरी ये गुजारिश है कि आप सब अपने आप को तैयार करें। कुछ ही दिन में हम लोग ये प्रोड्यूस करेंगे, और हम ये चाहेंगे कि हम एक नया भारत का जो सपना देख रहे हैं, उस सपना को पूरा करने के लिए अपना योगदान देंगे। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद शर्मा सर, थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर योर आउटस्टैंडिंग गाइडेंस। इतना अच्छा गाइडेंस शायद किसी शिक्षक एक ग्रुप को मिले। मैं बहुत आभारी हूं कि हमको आपके जैसे मेंटर मिला, आपके जैसे एक कर्मी जो शिक्षा में अपने आप में एक अद्भुत विचार हैं आपके। सो आई एम एक्सट्रीमली थैंकफुल फॉर योर काइंडनेस कि आपने हमको इतना समय दिया। 5 दिन में आप हमारे साथ जुड़े रहे, हर एजुकेशनिस्ट को इंस्पायर और मोटिवेट करते रहे।
My privilege entirely.
Thank you. And I must thank from my core of my heart, Madam Anshul Kharbanda, Academic Division from National Institute of Open Schooling, Noida. अगर फुर्सत मिले जरूर, मैं हमेशा एक इच्छा है, नेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ ओपन स्कूलिंग में बहुत अच्छा काम हो रहा है, कभी जाके मिलूं, बात करूं, लेकिन प्रोफेसर शर्मा सर से आगे, लेकिन आगे जैसे भी हो जरूर बहुत कुछ काम करेंगे। I must
Most welcome, sir. Please come whenever you want.
Thank you very much. And thank you all the speakers, as all the SEDEX speakers of today, starting from Dr. Ram Singh, Dr. Vikesh Kaur, Meena Madam, Suganti Narayan Madam, and Mamta Chandra Madam, for your outstanding views on these 5 special topics. Hope you had a wonderful day, wonderful evening. आपको बहुत कुछ सीखने को मिला होगा. And the entire team, those who are listening us through Facebook, through this Zoom link, congratulations to you that you have learned a wonderful chapter. एक 5 दिन का ऐसा जर्नी में आप थे, शायद आपको बेहतरीन अच्छा लगा होगा। इसी आशा करते हुए कि हम एक और अच्छा सेशंस, बहुत अच्छे प्रोग्राम्स, टीचर डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम, टीचर डेवलपमेंट कोर्स, बहुत सारे आगे में बहुत सारे सेशंस होने वाले हैं। आशा करता हूं कि आप सब इसमें भाग लेंगे, अपने आप को और सुदृढ़ बनाएंगे, अपने आप को और शार्पन करेंगे, अपने आप को और मार्जिन करेंगे in the days to come. I once again, on behalf of my team, Center for Education Development Foundation, Global Talk Education Foundation, and the Touch Education Magazine, सभी को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूं, और फिर एक नए चैप्टर से, एक नए सिलसिले से फिर मुलाकात होगी। तब तक के लिए हमें आज्ञा दीजिए। बहुत बहुत नमस्कार।